and opened up to pages 10 and 11? Could you do that, please? This is the book that has the picture of the boy swinging on the front, volume 1. We're going to go over our vocabulary first today before we read through Henry and Mudge. And today when we read through Henry and Mudge, we actually have some reader's notebook pages that will go along with it, so we'll do that too, okay? So I have the vocabulary words up on the board, but I'm also going to show you in the cards. You know what, I'm going to do them a little bit out of order today. So today for our Henry and Mudge lesson, vocabulary, I'm shuffling up these cards. I'm going to do them a little bit of out of order cards, just for some fun. And then I'm also just going to kind of pull out of the middle. Oh! All right. Friends at home, you can see the first card I picked was the word row. I see that these dog treats in the picture are in a row. It's actually number 8 on your cards in your book on page 11. Anybody want to give me a definition for the word row? Anybody want to give it a try? I know we've only gone over it a time or two. But anybody, can you tell me in your own words what row means? Zayden, you want to give it a try, buddy? What do you think it means?
There's 2 things. You can use it to roll your boat and a row.
Oh, you're right, because row is a multiple meaning word. But in this case, what meaning do we want for the word row?
Like a straight line.
A straight line, very good. Yeah, a row is when something is arranged or in a nice line, okay? Just like the treats are on the shelf in the picture. All right. Then I'm going to pull out, let's see here, stood is our next vocabulary word. It's actually number 6, I believe, in the book on page 11. What does stood mean? I'm going to pull a stick this time. Let's see if this person can tell me what stood means. Oh, and it could be a friend at home. You never know. Alina, you're my stick person. Alina, do you know what stood means? If I say the dog stood 1 foot tall, what does that mean in this case?
Standing up.
Not that he's standing up. That kind of makes sense, but not in this case. Anybody else want to make a guess? Gwen, what do you think?
Like how tall?
Yes, very good. How tall the dog would be, or how tall someone would be. So in this case, the word stood, when I say the dog stood 1 foot tall, or remember Mudge stood 3 feet tall, that means Mudge was 3 feet tall from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. So it's how tall someone is this time, okay? That's what the word stood means in this case. All right, next vocabulary word is the word collars. These aren't so much out of order as I thought they would be. Collars is number 7 on page 11 in your book. There are different kinds of collars. What is a collar? Who wants to tell me what a collar is? Angelina, what's a collar?
A collar is something that you put around a dog's head.
Around its neck. Yeah, you can put it around a dog's neck, something you put around a dog's neck. Anybody want to tell me what collars could be made out of? What could a collar be made out of? Jamie, tell me one thing a collar could be made of. Nice and loud, honey. I can't hear you.
It could be made out of a shiny thing.
Okay, what do we call that shiny thing? Okay, so a metal. So what could it be made out of? Metal, right? Yep, it could be made out of metal. Levi, what else could collars be made out of?
No.
Leather. So we could have metal, we could have leather. What else could collars be made out of, Kaden? Plastic. You have leather collars, metal collars, plastic collars, and there's one more thing that I told you that collars could be made out of. Do you remember, Logan, what it could be made out of?
Cloth.
Cloth, yeah.
And it could be made out of diamonds.
Well, it could be made out of diamonds, but the diamonds aren't what it's made out of. There would be metal underneath the diamonds to keep the diamonds stuck together. So mainly just metal, plastic, leather, and cloth. Do you have a question, Levi?
No.
Okay. All right, next vocabulary word. Do you have a question, Lena?
What about fabric?
is cloth. Cloth is another word for fabric. They're kind of the same thing. They're synonyms, okay? So when I say cloth, I kind of mean like what your shirts would be made out of, your pants would be made out of, that kind of stuff. Okay, here we go. Curly. Curly is the next vocabulary word. This dog looks like a small dog. This dog has curly fur. If his fur is curly, what's that mean? Who can tell me what curly means? Valerie, can you tell me?
Curly is something that's like here is sometimes for a dog, curly hair for a poodle.
So curly would be the opposite of what word? Straight. So curly is not straight, right? That's one thing to remember. Curly is not straight. Now, what else can I remember about curly? How else can we describe curly? Logan, you want to give it a try?
Curly is kind of like wrinkled.
Not wrinkled, because we're going to have the word wrinkled as a vocabulary word, so I don't want to think of curly as wrinkled. Alina, want to give it a try?
Like if somebody has like curly hair.
Right. If they have curly hair, what does that hair look like? Zayden, I'll let you be my last person to give it a try.
I mean, they're curled, and it's all the fur. It's all curly.
It is all curly. Curly means bendy, twisty, wavy. What does curly mean? Bendy, twisty, wavy. Let's say it again. What does curly mean? Bendy, twisty, wavy. Right. So it's not straight at all. It's the opposite of straight, just like Valerie told us, the opposite of straight. Now, our next word is going to be, I like this one, drooled. Last night, my dogs, Charlie and Richie, were both drooling when it was time to eat supper because they wanted to eat so badly. It's really gross, too, because Charlie especially has lots of drool that comes out of his mouth, like puddles. It's really gross. But anyways, drooled. This St. Bernard in the picture is drooling. What does it mean when an animal drools, or maybe a person drools? Is there a friend at home that wants to make a guess what it means when they drool? Anybody at home want to guess? Oh, I don't have any friends at home that want to guess. All right, I'll call on somebody in here. What does it mean when an animal drools, Kaden?
It's when there's like spit comes out like.
Yeah, spit comes out of the mouth. That fancy word for spit is saliva. So when an animal drools, saliva or spit just kind of drips out of the mouth. Sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's a little. It's kind of gross though. Okay. 3 more words to go. Next one is straight. What does straight mean? When we talked about curly, we said curly was not straight. So then, Levi, what does it mean if something is straight?
It's not the same thing as curly.
It's not the same thing as curly, so it's not what?
It's not bendy, twisty, or wavy.
Fantastic, Levi. That was a great answer. It is not bendy, not twisty, not wavy, just like this dog's hair. Inessa, do you have a question or did you want to answer? Did you want to answer or did you have a question?
An answer.
Okay. Do you want to tell me what floppy means? That's our next vocabulary word. Do you want to have an answer for that?
Is it curly or straight?
Right, not curly or straight. Floppy's definitely not curly or straight. When I say that this dog, thank you, Yanessa. When I say that this dog has floppy ears in the picture, or, believe it or not, if Mrs. Tucker's hair is not pulled back in a braid, which is like pulled back in a braid like every single day this year, it flops on my face, which is one of the reasons why I have it braided, because I don't like it just flopping in my face all the time. What does it mean if something is floppy? What is it like, Zayden, if it's floppy?
It's going everywhere.
It could go everywhere because how is it hanging?
Hanging down and going everywhere.
Yeah, it's just kind of hanging loosely. It's just hanging down and loose, like this poor puppy's ears. If you look at that picture, it's just kind of hanging there, flopping in his face. When he moves his face, his ears probably smack his poor muzzle. Poor little puppy. But he'll grow into them, no worries. And our last word is the word wade. We get weighed when we go to the nurse's office. You get weighed when you go to the doctor's office. Anybody want to give it a try? Somebody at home want to tell me what weighed means? They say the dog was weighed on a scale. What does weighed mean? Anybody want to give it a try? Any volunteers at home? Okay, not this time, so I will call on JD. JD, what does weighed mean?
It means you're getting, it means that you're checking your pounds.
You're checking your pounds, yeah, to see how what?
How much tall you get.
Not how high you are, that would be your height, but that's a good guess, because usually the doctor takes your weight and your height at the same time. But when they're checking your pounds, they're checking to see what, Levi?
The size you are.
How heavy or light. Is that the word you told me Jamie was light? Jamie, did you tell me the word light? Or did you tell me height with an H? Okay.
I told you height.
Okay. So that when you get weighed, you figure out how heavy or how light it is. It's a measurement of weight or how heavy or light something is. I like to say when I go to the doctor's office, I get measured for how light I am, not how heavy I am. Like light like a feather. Anyways, okay. So that's our vocabulary. I'm going to keep going over those words because believe it or not, in a couple of days, we will have a test on what the vocabulary words mean. So I will go over those vocabulary words every single day until right before we take the test. And then hopefully they're in our brains and ready to go, okay? Now, you're going to turn to pages, 14 and 15, I believe, in your book is where the story starts. Today when I read through the story, I'm just going to read through it one time so it's in our heads. Because then we're going to go into our reader's notebook afterwards, and we're going to answer some questions that go along with the story, okay? So, turning to pages 14 and 15, let me see if I could turn here in my book. Pages 14 and 15 till we get to our story. It's starting to load on my screen here. Let's see, hopefully it loads all the way. All right, so remember our author for the story is Cynthia Ryland. What does an author do? Who can tell me what an author does? Angelina.
It writes the story.
Yeah, the author writes the words for the story or writes the story. What does an illustrator do? Our illustrator is Susie Stevenson. What is the job of the illustrator, Kaden? Nope, the author writes the words, Kaden. So what does the illustrator do?
Makes the pictures.
Draws the pictures, right, very good. Okay, and almost always we have an author and an illustrator for our stories. Not all the time, though. We're going to come up with some pictures, some stories where we don't have that happen. But this type of story, the genre, or the type of story that we have this time is a realistic fiction story. And remember, I see that word real in the word realistic, and then fiction means fake. So remember that a realistic fiction story is a fake real story, or real fake story. It's real enough that you could have names of people or characters that act like real people, or you could have things that happen in the story, or the story could take place in a place that's real, but it's fiction, which means it's fake, so the whole thing is make-believe. The author just wrote it as a make-believe story, but it could really happen in real life, okay? And Henry and Mudge, there could be a boy named Henry who found a dog who named it Mudge. It's one of those things that could really happen, all right? Okay, remember our question, our essential question for this story is, what is a perfect pet like? And again, that's not something that we answer right away. We just start thinking about it. What is a perfect pet like? And what might be a perfect pet for you might be different than a perfect pet for me. Because we all can have our own opinions of what we think is perfect. Yanessa, what's your question, hon? Yanessa, is your hand up? Okay. All right. So we're going to start reading Henry and Mudge. Here we go. Henry had no brothers and no sisters. I want a brother, he told his parents. Sorry, they said. Henry had no friends on his street. I want to live on a different street, he told his parents. Sorry, they said. Henry had no pets at home. I want to have a dog, he told his parents. Sorry, they almost said. But first, they looked at their house with no brothers and no sisters. Then they looked at their street with no children. Then they looked at Henry's face. Then they looked at each other. Okay, they said. And what did Henry say?
I want to hug you.
Yeah, I want to hug you, Henry said. Henry told his parents. And he did. Henry searched for a dog. Not just any dog, said Henry. Not a short one, he said. Not a curly one, he said. And no pointy ears. No pointed ears. Now, before I go any further on this page, do you see how the word curly is yellow on the page? And friends at home, you can look in your book and you can see how the word curly is yellow on your page. Oh, I see lots of hands going up because I bet you know what I'm going to ask next. Why do you think the author put the word curly in yellow? Kinsley, was your hand up, sweetie? Okay. Anybody want to give an idea why you think the word curly is in yellow? Levi, what do you think, buddy?
It's because it's highlighted.
It is because it's highlighted, but why did the author want to highlight the word curly, Jamie? We learned it as one of our vocabulary words. Yes. So in our books, and you're going to see this in our reading books, sometimes you'll see it in science books, sometimes you'll see it in social studies books. When it's a vocabulary word, a lot of the times, because the author wants you to see that very important word, they highlight it, like Levi said. When they highlight it, it kind of stands out and bounces out at you from the page, doesn't it? Those words help us better understand what's going on in the story, so the author wants to make it so that you can see those words. So curly is highlighted for that very reason. So not a short dog, not a curly dog, and no pointed ears. Oh, I see more vocabulary words. There we go. Then he found Mudge. Mudge had floppy ears, not pointed. Mudge had straight fur, just straight, not curly. But Mudge was short. Why was Mudge short? Gwen, why was Mudge short?
Because he was a puppy.
Yeah, because he was a puppy, Henry said. He'll grow. And did he ever? He grew out of his puppy cage. He grew out of his dog cage. He grew out of, how many collars? 7 collars in a row. That's a lot of collars. He weighed 180 pounds, like a grown man. He stood 3 feet tall. Now remember, stood means how tall he is from the bottom of his paws to the top of his head. 3 feet tall. That's like up here. And he drooled. Ugh.
Was he a Saint Bernard?
I don't know what he looks like a mastiff. I'm glad you're not short, Henry said. And Mudge licked him, and then
He
sat on him. The end. Okay, now with that story today, leave that story open, and I want you to get out your reader's notebook. That's the soft book that looks just like this book with the boy swinging on the front. So friends at home, make sure you get out your reader's notebook with your hard reading book. Okay? And I'm going to find it over here. Oops, I think I have the pages. All right. When you find your hard or your soft reading book, your reader's notebook, you're going to turn to pages 8 and 9. And let me split my screen here so we can see both pages 8 and 9 at the same time. Oops, it doesn't go that way because it's 7 and 8. So let me go back to the single page here. Oops, wrong one.
Got it.
There we go. Pages 8 and 9. Okay, so we'll start on page 8. It's split different on your page than it is on mine. Actually, I might be able to get it 8 and 9. Here we go. 8 and 9. See if it gives me 8 and 9. Nope, it doesn't. So I will go back to the single page view after all. Okay. So on page 8 in our soft reader's notebook, it says Henry's journal. And underneath that it says, "Hi, I'm Henry, and I started a journal about getting a dog." Do you know what a journal is? Does anybody know what a journal is? I see some hands. Alina, what's a journal?
Like kind of like a notebook that you like write words in.
Yeah, like a notebook that you might write some words in. We have another word sometimes too that we use for journal. That's the book you need right there, Jamie. There's another word that you might use for journal. Zayden?
Diary.
Diary, yeah. So a diary and a journal are kind of like the same thing in this case. Journal is another one of those multiple meaning words, though. It has more than one meaning. But in this case, it's kind of like having a diary, okay? So, Henry's starting a journal about getting the dog. So we have to help him finish his journal entry, which means we're going to help him finish writing what he's putting into his journal. And we're going to use examples from the text, which means we're going to use the story to help us. And we're going to draw some pictures to help show, we're going to use examples from the story and the pictures to help show how Henry felt. So the first thing that it tells us to do is to read pages 16 and 17. So in your hard reading book, that's why I wanted you to have it out. In your hard reading book, I want you to go back to pages 16 and 17. And I'll go back to it on my screen too. Right there, it's the picture of him. It looks like he's playing ball by himself. Pages 16 and 17 in your hard reading book. Levi, 16 and 17 in your hard reading book. Not in your soft reading book, your hard one. This should be on page 8. So that when 16 and 17 in your hard book.
Okay,
Right.
Yes.
Everybody on pages 16 and 17 in the hard reading book? Okay, so it asks us to read those pages again. So let me read it first. We're not writing anything yet. We're going to read first. It says, Henry had no brothers and no sisters. "I want a brother," he told his parents. "Sorry," they said. Henry had no friends on his street. "I want to live on a different street," he told his parents. "Sorry," they said. Henry had no pets at home. "I want to have a dog," he told his parents. "Sorry," they almost said. Now, we've read those 2 pages, so now back in our reader's notebook, it says, it asks the question, how did I feel at the beginning of the story? So how did Henry feel at the beginning of the story? How was he feeling, Jamie? Was Henry happy at the very beginning? He said, "I have no friends on my street, I have no pets, I have no brothers and sisters." He was probably a little bit sad. Yeah, he probably felt a little sad. Unfortunately, I don't have a pen to write on here, but I can write sad on my whiteboard. Those of you at home, you can write the word sad in the journal. Sad is S-A-D. Let me find one of my markers here. S-A-D. First, I felt sad. And you're going to see it's right up on the very first line. It says, first I felt, and then there's a blank. You can write sad, S-A-D. And I have it right here on the board. Unfortunately, I can't use the pen with this program. I don't know why it doesn't work. It's very frustrating. But you can write sad, S-A-D, right there. I'm afraid I'm going to write on the whiteboard, though. I know what I could do. There we go. Okay. So why did Henry feel sad? First, I felt sad because who can tell me in their own words why Henry was feeling sad? Angelina, why was he feeling sad?
Because he didn't have any friends, no one to play with, and he was lonely.
Right. Because I am lonely, right? I am lonely. And I'm going to write that on the big whiteboard over here. And I'm also going to hold it up for my friends at home so you can see I am lonely. And since it's the end of my sentence, what do I need to put?
Period.
A period, right? Okay. So my friends at home, the second part of that, it says, first I am sad because I am lonely. Okay? So put that in your reader's notebook. I am sad because I'm lonely. He has no friends on his street. Poor Henry. He has no brothers and sisters. Poor Henry. And he has no pets, not even a fish. Poor Henry. Did you get this down, Levi, in your book?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Katie, what's your question?
Where do we put
Right after the word because we're filling it in right after. I am sad because I am lonely. Oh, poor Henry. I do kind of feel bad for him. I think that would be super lonely to have no friends on your street and no brothers and sisters to play with and no pets to play with.
I got a lot like that. No, don't hug yourself.
Anybody still writing this? Thumbs up if you're still writing. It's okay if you still are. Thumbs up. Okay. Keep going. I don't want to go too fast.
Learn how to drive. That's my street.
I am lonely, says Henry. Anybody still writing? Thumbs up if you're still writing, so that I know. Okay, I don't see any thumbs up. Okay, so I'm going to erase this, friends at home, okay? Now, on page 9, I have to turn the page on my screen here, but you have them. Some of you have them side by side. Some of you, I think, have it on the next page. It just depends on how your workbook's set up. I don't know why some readers' notebooks are one way and the other readers' notebooks are the other way. But on the next page, it says, read page 19. So in our hard reading book again, now we need to turn to page 19. So I'm going to flip my screen here so we get back to our book. Whoops, wrong one. And we're going to go to page 19 in our book. 19 is the picture where he's hugging his mom and dad, okay? So you want to be on that page in your book too, where he's hugging his mom and dad. Everybody there?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to read page 19. It says, then they looked at each other. Okay, they said. I want to hug you, Henry told his parents. And he did. Now, since we didn't read the page before that, let's go back in our brains and think, why does he want to hug his parents? Why did he say, I want to hug you? And what did they say okay to? Anybody remember? Yanessa, what did they say okay to? Why is he happy?
They could get a dog.
Yes, his parents said, yeah, we'll get a dog. So now he's like, yes, I'm going to hug you. Okay, so back in our reader's notebook. Now, it asks the question, how did I feel after my parents said I could get a dog? How did Henry feel after his parents said he could get a dog? Zayden, how do you feel, buddy?
Happy.
Happy. I'm going to write that down on the board here, friends, so you can see it. And I'm going to write it on my big board here just so you can see it. I'm going to erase this one. Choot, 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 choot. He felt happy. 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 Now, I felt happy because, why is Henry happy? Valerie, why is Henry happy? Do you know?
Because his mom and dad said yes for a dog.
Yeah, he's happy because I can get a dog. So I'm going to write that on my board here. I can get a dog. And I'm going to write it up on the big board here. I can get a dog. What do I have to put at the end?
Period.
A period. A period because it is the end of a sentence. I am happy because I can get a dog. Does that go the right way for you guys? Because it's backwards on my screen. It looks like it's written in reverse. Can you guys see it at home okay? Okay. Because to me it looks like it's written backwards. It's really weird looking. I am happy because I can get a dog. Fantastic. Levi, did you get this down, buddy?
Yep.
Okay, awesome sauce. Caden, are you getting this down? Yep. The whole thing? I am happy because I can get a dog? Okay, fantastic. Did you put a period at the end? Make sure there's a period at the end of our sentences. Anybody, if you're still writing at home, give me a thumbs up. Still writing? Okay, fantastic. Keep writing. Still writing in here, give me a thumbs up. Okay, that's okay. Keep writing. I appreciate you taking your time with your handwriting, making it look neat. And finger spaces in between our words, right? Because we don't want to get them all scrunched together. They just look like a big old line of letters. I will get into the habit of making sure there's finger spaces now. Anybody at home still writing? Okay. Anybody in here still writing? Okay. I'll give you another minute or two, then we're going to go on to the next one. While you're waiting, those of you at home and in here, while we're waiting for them to finish up, we're going to turn to pages 22 and 23 in our hard reading book. So while you're waiting, go ahead and turn to page 22 and 23. I'm going to walk away from this for a second since nobody at home is needing that for right now. I'm going to turn to page 22 and 23. Find my book here. Here we go. Pages 22 and 23. Oh, there's a cute little baby Pudge. Oh, not Pudge, Mudge. I have a cat named Pudge. That's why I said that. I wasn't even thinking. I have a cat named Pudge, and this is a dog named Mudge. Okay, here we go. Now, this time it's asking us to read pages 22 through 25, okay? So in our hard reading book, we're going to start on page 22. It says, then he found Mudge. Mudge had floppy ears, not pointed. Mudge had straight fur, not curly. But Mudge was short. Because he's a puppy, Henry said. He'll grow. And did he ever? He grew out of his puppy cage. He grew out of his dog cage. He grew out of 7 collars in a row. Fantastic. And when he finally stopped growing, he weighed 180 pounds. He stood 3 feet tall, and he drooled. I'm glad you're not short, Henry said. And Mudge licked him and sat on him. Okay, now for the very last question, it's asking, how did Henry feel last? How did Henry feel after Mudge grew up? First of all, how did Henry feel? What kind of feeling word could we use there? How did Henry feel after Mudge grew up? Levi, how do you feel, buddy?
Very happy.
Very happy. You know, I like the word very there, so I'm going to actually put both words there. Very happy. Friends at home, I'll show you this in just a second. He felt very happy. You might have to write it tiny in your book, but I think you could probably fit it in there. Very happy. Just use your miniature gnome handwriting. Very happy. He felt very happy. If you want to just put the word happy, you can. It's okay to just put the word happy. But he was very happy.
I actually have elf ears.
Okay, fantastic. I'm glad to know you have elf ears. Awesome stuff. Good to know. He felt very happy. Now, why was Henry so happy at the very end of the story when Mudge grew up? Why was he happy? This is going to be a little bit of a longer answer. So let me hear. Alina, why do you think he was so happy at the end of the story when Mudge grew up?
Because he got a dog because his parents said yes.
Okay, he was not just because he got a dog, his parents said yes. Because we're thinking about why is he happy that Mudge grew up? Or why is he happy when Mudge grew up? Jamie, what do you think, buddy? Because he wasn't short. What else? He was excited that he got a dog. If Mudge wasn't short, and if Mudge didn't have pointed ears, and if Mudge didn't have curly fur, what kind of pet was he for Henry?
A dog.
He was a dog, but what kind of pet? How can we describe him if he was everything Henry wanted him to be? Gwen, you look like you're going to split in half. What do you think?
A perfect pet.
A perfect pet, right? Mudge was the perfect pet. Jose and Derek, just sit tight for a second because we're almost finished, okay? So just sit tight and listen. I appreciate you getting your books out, though. That was fantastic responsibility. Mudge was the perfect pet for him. Levi, put your book down. So he was very happy because Mudge was the perfect pet. This is a little bit more words now this time. Friends at home, I'll show you in a second. Mudge was the perfect pet. Period at the end of the sentence. He was very happy because Mudge was the perfect pet. And I'm going to turn this right around here, friends, so you can see. Mudge was the perfect pet. He was. He had straight fur. He had floppy ears. And he was not small. Not if he weighed 180 pounds and stood 3 feet tall. He was definitely not a small dog. He was a big dog. Now, do you think Henry cared that he drooled on him?
No.
Probably not, right? I don't think that bothered Henry very much at all.
He liked it.
That he drooled and spit came out of his mouth. Did you get all this down, Kaden?
No.
Let's get moving then.
Yep.
Hold it up so I can see that you have all the words. Well, I can't see it when you turn it backwards. Okay, so Kaden, make sure your words actually go on the line in an order, not just stacked on top of each other. Write them on the line, dude. Thank you. Thanks, Aiden. I was just checking Caden's because I couldn't see any words on his lines. That's why I was double checking to make sure we had it all in the right place. We need to make sure that they're not stacked on top of each other. Mudge was the perfect pet. Okay, good to know, Jose. Thank you. Friends at home, are you still writing? Thumbs up if you are. It's okay if you are. Okay, keep going. You're good to go. So, Kaden, go all the way to the end. See how when I'm writing on my board, when I get to the end of the row, I don't just stack the words down here. I go to the other side and start at that side and then work my way across. I want you to do that with your sentence too. Okay? So when you get to the end of a row, you go all the way over to the other side of the paper and then start on that side and then right in a row again so that we don't have words just kind of stacked on top of each other. Okay? That's how we use the lines with our writing. Yes, Gwen?
Do you mean like on the next little thing? Because like if it's a bigger one, you can like write it on the next little.
Yeah, you go on the next line. Yep, just like that, Kaden. Yep. Looks like everybody is doing that. Awesome sauce. Anybody at home still writing? Thumbs up if you're still writing. Okay, go ahead if you are. It's good. All right. When you finish, you can go ahead and put this in your Actually, put your hard reading book in your desk. Leave your soft reading book out. But we're actually going to get up and move a little bit, get some wiggles out. One quick moving song to wiggle a little bit before we do our grammar. Because we still do need to do our grammar and talk about subjects and predicates today. Okay? Anybody at home still writing? Are we good? Okay, I'm going to walk away just for a second. Let me stop this just for a second.